الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم أما بعد قال تبارك وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال تبارك وتعالى أيضا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم وافعلوا الخير لعلكم تفلحون. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected brothers, elders and sisters, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has again given us and blessed us from His bounty and virtue, that we're able to come and fulfill another obligated act that He has obligated upon us. And this is only from the divine aid that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. It's not that we're better than somebody outside who is not able to come. It's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen us to fulfill this commandment. And as long as we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this and everything else, then He will continue to shower us with His mercy and blessing. And not only that, but increase the blessing that He's given us. So we'll be able to attend inshallah next Jummah. And inshallah attend all the salawat. This is all from the divine aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not from the good within us, or that we're better than someone else. So we always start by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has blessed us with this. Now, Thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our tongues is one thing, but the real thanks comes through action. And the only way that we can thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is if we know what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we can perform those acts. If we don't even know what pleases Him, and we're just trying to please Him the way we think He wishes to be pleased, then we could be earning the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this happens with one of us. If, for example, someone is married, someone has a friend, you're buying them a gift, but it's something that you think is a good gift, but not according to them, they won't be pleased with that gift. Even though it's a gift, even though you were sincere. They may stay quiet about it, but they were never happy, never made them happy. So, what is the easiest way that we can know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants? Is He's given us the manual of life, which is the Quran. He's given us the Quran for us to build a relationship with, for us to read and recite. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses with this Quran every single individual. The Quran speaks to every single one of us. It speaks to every single community. It speaks to the whole nation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, regardless of what country you live in, what time you live in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these words for the whole nation until the day of judgment. And it is not some regular book that we can say, oh, it refers to these people at this time or this country or this nation. It's to every single one of us. And that's why time is not a barrier for the Quran to reach. For someone to state such things as, that was for those people, this is now, we're a different time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by time that it doesn't change. All of mankind will be in loss, no matter what time you live in. 1400 years ago now, 2000 years from now, you are all in loss. Except those who believe and do righteous deeds, and enjoin one another in truth and patience. So it doesn't matter what time we live in, the Quran will be the source, the manual for us to find the way to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So relationship with the Quran is a must. That means every individual has to pick up the Quran and recite it. This is not something that we just sit back and let the Imam do, and then everybody else just listens to it, and it's such a nice recitation, and then we go home and we're done with Khutba al-Quran for the month of Ramadan, and maybe for the whole year. The Quran is something that we have to pick up, and we have to, one, just recite it, as that itself is an ibadah, whether we understand it or not. And two, look into the meaning and see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. We build schedules to run our lives in this life. We go to school from 8 to 3 for 12, 13 years, and then we continue to make different schedules in college, and then we have a work schedule, and through that structure, we're able to succeed. We're able to learn the subject, we're able to get into a good college, to earn a professional degree, we're able to progress as a society. Look at where we're at right now compared to just a couple of hundred years ago. Flying in the sky, going from one place to the other. Distances that would take months and years to travel, we do it in a couple of days. Why? Because we set a structure for ourselves to progress. So similarly, if we want to progress in Deen, all we have to do is make a structure for ourselves. And that just says, you know what, let me make a consistent structure. Just like we went to school from 8 to 3 for 40 hours a week for 12, 13 years, and then we continue with college, and now we're still working, we're succeeding. We're progressing. The way we lived a couple of years ago is different than the way we live now, because of this structure. So now if we want to say, for example, correct and perfect our recitation of the Quran and our understanding of the Quran, just build a structure. Not something that, you know what, I'm going to read the whole Quran in 2 days, I'm going to start right, I won't stop until I finish. This is not how we dealt with this life. That's not how we went to school. We didn't say, I'm going to finish high school and this 1 year I'm just going to stay, I won't do anything, I'll just stay in school. We had our school time, we had our break time, we had our play time, we had other things to do as well. So with this Quran, we just say, I'm going to set this much time every day to build on the Quran, to build a relationship with the Quran. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean this is just one way. We can build our own structure. We can try to find something, but we have to find a structure that works for us to build this relationship with the Quran. Another way to look at it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set certain times to be virtuous than other times. Right now, we're in the season of Hajj. So what we can do is we can go to the Quran and say, well, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about Hajj that I need to pay attention to? And there's a whole surah that's named Surah Al-Hajj. So we can say, oh, it's the month of Ramadan, well, let me look at the ayats of Ramadan. If it's the month of Hajj, let me go look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says on Hajj. And it's very easy because these kinds of descriptions are broken up now wherever we go. Whether it be on our phone, we just have to type in Hajj and all the ayats with the word Hajj will come up. Ibrahim, type it in, it will come up. Or go on the computer app. Or so many different ways for us to understand what's in the Quran. Or it's not just, well, let me look at this book and I'm trying to find every time it says Ibrahim alayhi salam. It's not that hard anymore. It's gotten very easy compared to the people in the past. So, this other way of just looking at it, and we've heard khutbas, I'm sure, about Hajj, Ibrahim alayhi salam, in these past couple of weeks, and these are something that we need to pay attention to. But not just live off the words of the khatib. Go back to the source. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about it? And you may be surprised how much it will affect us. Especially if we have that understanding and then we come and listen to the khutbah. Or if we listen to the khutbah and we get an understanding and then we go read it in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who blesses us with understanding and blesses us with knowledge. But He'll give it to whoever wants it. And whoever wants it will make effort for it. So we're going to just look at a couple of verses in Surah Al-Hajj. And it's more than a few pages long. So it will take plenty of time for us to recite the Quran and look at the meaning. But just to show you how depth Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran is, and how much we can take benefit from it, we're just going to go over a couple of verses in the Quran. And these are the last couple of verses where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with, O those who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ruk'u, make ruku, make sujood, and worship your Lord, and do good, so that you may be successful. Now when we look at the Quran, like I said, it's not just, okay, I read that verse, let me go to the next verse. Contemplation is required in the Quran. That what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying? What is going on over here? And if we contemplate over it, we'll get this other understanding that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless us. Imam Shafi'i, he recited and memorized the Quran when he was about 7 years old. He was a mufti by the time he was like 15. And somebody came to him and he said, you guys as scholars are telling us that we have to follow ijma. We have to follow ijma, consensus. Where's your daleel from the Quran that you have to follow consensus of the scholars, of the Sahaba? And he was already a hafid, he was an alim, he was a mufti, yet he said, give me some time, I'll find it for you and I'll come back. So he started reciting the Quran, and he recited, and then he did it again, and he did it again, until he came to this ayah, وَمَنْ يَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ. And whoever follows a path other than the path of the believers, of the group of believers, we're going to set them on a path of hellfire. And he said, this is it. So it's not like he recited the Quran once, he was hafid at 7 years old, and now he knows what the Quran says and that's it. He had to go back to it. And that's the way the Quran is. Even in Taraweeh, which Ramadan is finished, I'm sure everybody experienced it here. What did the Imam do after he finished Khatm al-Quran? He started one more time and just read the first page of Surah Baqarah, just to show you that this is a never-ending recitation. It is not a regular book where you know the story, you know the beginning, the middle, the end, and you're done with it. You know that story. Move on to the next story, next book. This Quran, you have to recite it over and over and over. Each time you do it, it will benefit you that much. So over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling the believers. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ruk'u. Before we go into that, first Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over here is addressing the audience. Now some scholars, they say the audience, it doesn't matter if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically saying believers, it refers to every single person. Because in terms of doing these ibadat, making ruku, making sujood, no one is exempted from it. In terms of responsibility and burden, every single person is burdened with it. So it refers to everyone. Whereas other scholars say, no, this ayah specifically refers to the believers. And all the other ayats are telling everyone to become believers. So it's a sort of an honor to the believers that, look, you've already believed. You've taken care of that foundation. Now let me tell you what you should do. Make ruku, make sujood. This ayah is sajda tilawa according to some scholars. That when you recite it, or when you hear someone recite it, you have to make sajda tilawa. According to other scholars, it's not sajda tilawa, because they say over here ruku and sujood come in a pattern. So in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just talking about salah. That all those who believe pray salah.
All the way.
Pray salah. And this is the head of all these that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, if we have salah in our lives, everything else will become easy. Salah, if it's established in our life, all of our other deeds will become correct. If we're praying our salah correct, then we're doing our zakat, our Ramadan, and everything correct. If our salah is not correct, then everything else probably has a deficiency in it just as well. One of the scholars, he said, salah is nur. It's like, it's in a hadith. And he said, if you ever want to know what's inside your heart, then you shed some light in it. He said, if you're going outside and you see a well or a pond, and it's late at night, you look at it, it looks very smooth and clean. But if you shine some light on it, all of a sudden you see all these things on the surface of the water that you couldn't see in the darkness. You see little bugs, little flying, things are just floating on top of the surface of the water that you couldn't see due to the darkness. Over here, salah is the light that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with, for us to look at the darkness within our heart, if there's something in it that's not correct. And most of us, even the speaker can understand this, that as soon as we say Allahu Akbar, we shine some light onto something, a portion of our heart that we didn't know existed. That all of a sudden this thought comes into my mind that wasn't there before I said Allahu Akbar. Before I started salah, I could have been reciting Quran, I could have been making dhikr, and I'm thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it seems like everything is nice and good. As soon as I say Allahu Akbar, all of a sudden my mind drifts off, goes to somewhere else. Because we're shining that light now on our heart and we're seeing what's really there. It just shows it's not something bad, it's something good that we've been given that now we can make effort for. If we correct that time in our salah and it starts to, and it becomes pure, then imagine our life outside of salah. See, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the Sahabas, رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ. There are men who are not distracted, business and trading does not distract them from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from establishing the prayer. While they are in business, they're thinking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they're thinking about prayer. That in the business, am I doing something haram? Should I avoid what I'm doing? What is the correct character that I should be showing right now? This person is coming to me, return this, what should I do? They're always thinking, with this transaction, with this act, with my business, how am I going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Today, it's sort of flipped. In the salah, we're thinking about business and we're thinking about buying and trading. So we've sort of flipped the standard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set for us and by through the Sahaba. So if we correct this though, then all of a sudden our business, our life with our family, everything else, our neighbors becomes correct. But if we don't correct it, then the corruption that we have outside will come within our salah and even destroy our salah even more. To the point where we could just be like, you know what, I don't know, what's the point of praying? I don't even know sometimes what rakat I'm in. And people have done this. And slowly, they've left salah. And even in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it happens to someone. It doesn't start with someone just saying, you know what, I'm not going to pray anymore. It starts with, you know what, it's okay, I'll just catch this one salat. Okay, I'll just put these two salats together. Okay, you know what, I'll just go for Jum'ah. And then all of a sudden, slowly, it starts to just leave our life. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about salah, it says, وَعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمْ. Worship your Lord. Now, this has a couple of different interpretations. First of all, obviously it means tawheed. Don't worship anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another interpretation that it can have is, in all the other actions besides salah, make sure you do all of that. Not just salah. It's not salah that we're just telling you to do. All the other actions, Ramadan, Hajj, every dhikr, reciting the Quran, all those things, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well by doing that. The other interpretation is, whether it be salah or any other action, make sure you do it only with the intention of obeying and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We could be doing salah for a different reason. We could be reciting the Quran for a different reason. It will only be accepted if we're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَفْعَلَ الْخَيْرِ, do good. Now, khayr, a couple of interpretations for this. One is Silat al-Rahim and Makarim al-Akhlaq. Silat al-Rahim is ties of kinship, family, building those bonds. And Makarim al-Akhlaq is the best and noblest of character. When we go from place to place, the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remain the same. Silat al-Rahim, whether we're here or in Afghanistan or Syria, it's all the same. But the application may be a bit different. And the neglection of it may be different as well. So for example, overseas it's very clear. Someone, if they want to do Qat al-Rahim, inshallah, all the brothers can scoot up forward, fill in the gap so everybody can fit. Yes, please come forward, sisters are coming in as well, so we make space for everyone. There will be plenty of space when we stand up for salah, so even if you're scrunched up, you can't see that. Just move forward as much as you can. Silat al-Rahim, overseas it might be very simple to understand it, because someone will say, you know what, I'm never talking to you again, get away from me. And they never talk to each other again. So everyone knows, okay, that's Qat al-Rahim, that's the opposite of Silat al-Rahim. But over here, in this society, I've noticed that, and maybe anybody who's raised over here may probably have noticed it as well, or anybody that's lived here for a longer time, you never really say that to people. But you never really call them as well. You sort of just avoid them. Not because you want to avoid them, just because you get too busy with yourself, too busy with your work, that you almost forget that you're never calling anyone of your relatives. Never saying just salam. And you sort of now, you're not doing Qat al-Rahim where you're cutting ties of kinship, but you're not doing Silat al-Rahim where you're strengthening the bonds. So we have to be very careful, because in this society we can just say, oh, I'm not doing Qat al-Rahim, I'm not getting this sin. But at the same time, because of our actions, because of the way the society sort of pushes us to get ahead, and don't give a moment of time. You have to worry about yourself. Don't give a moment of thought, and we sort of get busy with this life that we completely forget about everything else. A simple call to the parents, a simple call to brothers and sisters of ours, different things that we just completely neglect. Makarim al-Akhlaq, the best of character. This is something, it's the easiest way to know if our ibadat is correct. Because Makarim al-Akhlaq is the result of ibadat. Good character is the result of good worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If our salah is correct, it's going to prevent us from all evil and immoral things. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. If our fasting is correct, we'll be very humble and generous when we're not fasting, because we're thinking of that time that I was hungry. Well, this person is hungry not because he wants to fast or she wants to fast, but because they have no food. Happening overseas, those situations will affect our hearts. They're not fasting because they want to fast. They're fasting because they have no food, and it will affect us. We won't just say, "Oh, okay, just brush it off to the side." It will affect us. Going Hajj, it's going to affect us. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says in the hadith, "Bunya al-Islam ala khams," that Islam is built on 5 pillars. And we all know this hadith, and we all know that even if we don't know the hadith, we know the concept: Salat, Shahada, Salat, Ramadan, Hajj, and Zakat. These are the 5 pillars of Islam. But when you say that Islam is built on these 5 things, you're saying that these things are what hold Islam. Because a pillar is not the house, a pillar is what holds the house. It holds the roof. So if these are the pillars in holding Islam, then what is Islam? So this is where scholars, they say Islam is considered 3 things. Al-Mu'amalat, Al-Mu'asharat, and Al-Akhlaq. Mu'amalat, how you do business. If your ibadat, if these 5 pillars are strong, how you do business will never be incorrect. You will not cheat, you will not lie in business, you will not do anything that for the sake of money. Because your pillars are strong. If the other one is al-mu'ashara, the how you deal with your family members. How you deal with your family members, you will never mistreat them because of the ibadat. The pillars are strong. In any way, that includes Silat al-Rahim, dealing with kids, dealing with spouses, how we deal with one another, with our families. And makarim al-akhlaq, how we deal with anything else with our character. When somebody comes and yells at us, what do we do? When somebody accuses us of something, what do we do? This is, the scholars, they say, if these 5 pillars, they only consist only a portion of our days. For example, salah, maybe a total of 1 hour a day, 5 times salah. Because we pray 5 times, 10 minutes of salah, roughly. That's about 1 hour a day. Ramadan, 1 month in a whole year. Zakat, once in a lifetime. Please, again, scoot forward as much as you can. Inshallah, there's people outside there in no space. All these orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the 5 pillars, they're only a fraction of the day, a fraction of the year, a fraction of our life. But if you look at mu'amalat, mu'asharat, and akhlaq, every time we're not doing one of these 5 pillars, these 3 will come and step in. We're either dealing with our family, we're dealing with our business, or we're dealing just showing character with some random stranger, with our neighbor, with other people. So if these pillars are strong, then Islam will be strong within our life. If any of these pillars get weak, then you can see the roof will start falling off. And you can see that we'll probably start losing our temper. We can see that Muslims will cheat one another, we'll cheat people. Sometimes people don't want to do business with Muslims. A Muslim doesn't want to do business with Muslims. Why? Because of this. Because one of the pillars got a bit weak, and slowly Islam, the roof, started to fall off. Now, all of this is for what? لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us what will give us success. This is the equation. You want success? This is it. We all want success. Why do we go study? To become professionals. Why do we go start businesses? Why do we go get married, to have kids? All of it for success. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a way, He's sort of generalizing the orders. He first tells us pray salah. And then He gives us something more general. Worship your Lord. And then He gives us something more general, do good. It's getting more general every single time, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is raising the standard for us. Imagine if all we had to do was pray, and we didn't have to worry about other ibadat, or do good. Or we just worry about ibadat, but we can treat anybody any way we want. The standards are raising high. The bar is raising higher and higher for us to perfect us, to raise our ranks before Him. The other way of looking at it is salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions salah first, and if it becomes strong, it will start leading us to do worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many different ways. And if we start worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many different ways, that will start bringing us to do a lot of good things within life. The other way can also be applied as well. Or if somebody is trying to do a whole bunch of good, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will probably give that person tawfiq to worship Him. And then He will give him tawfiq to establish salah in that person's life so that it's perfected. Because that perfect salah is what will bring change in our life, not just regular salah. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. It's not just وَعَمِلُوا, that they just do deeds. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, they do righteous deeds. Because righteous deeds are what will change our life and make us to, you'll see a change. Otherwise, we can be praying for 40 years, 50 years, and we're just doing the same prayer, and we're doing the same exact, we have the same exact lifestyle, the same exact character, nothing's changing within our life. It doesn't mean that this change will be instantaneous, but we will definitely notice that change. And if we don't notice it, other people will notice it, because even if we take the humble route and say, well, I need to change more, I'm not doing enough, and that's perfectly fine, other people will notice it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them notice it. Now just brother, this is just one verse. This is just one verse from Surah Al-Hajj that we just went over. If we really go over the Quran and ponder over it the way we ought to, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will benefit us in ways that we can't even imagine. He'll teach us in ways that we couldn't even imagine. And He'll give us ways out of the hardships and just the ignorance of life, of how this works, how that works, why is this happening, that we can't even imagine. All we have to do is build that structure with the Quran, that we say, you know what, I'm going to give this much time for the Quran every day, or I'm going to do this or this. Build a structure for ourselves to establish a relationship with the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make easy for all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all of the shortcomings. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. أما بعد، قال تبارك وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اشرح صدورنا للإسلام، اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. اللهم اجعلنا من الراشدين، اللهم اجعلنا من الراشدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه ولا تكفروا. أقيموا الصلاة.